On this episode of Just Seen It, we reveal our hidden gems for 2012.
Well, why don't you pretend that Mr. Darcy is a human being like me and start up a conversation?
He's kind of against the idea of a robot helping him at first, but he eventually becomes more accustomed to living with it and kind of forms a bond with the robot.
What are you doing with the rest of your life?
Little of this, little of that.
But she's not like that in this film. In this film, they both exist for each other. So she helps him, but he helps her just as much.
I don't know. What are the chances he can do that with these lasers?
How would I know?
He doesn't know. He's not a freaking stormtrooper either.
Stormtroopers don't know anything about lasers or time travel. They're blue-collar workers.
Because it's about time travel, everyone gets to talk about their major regrets in life and where they would go and what they would do.
We review CBS's Golden Boy.
Who am I, Morgan Freeman? Open your own damn door.
I did like the flashback element, though, because you see how he meets his kind of mentor, played by Shia McBride, who's fantastic in the show.
Oh, yeah.
NBC's Do No Harm.
Be careful. Monkeys have been known to eat their young.
I can understand maybe if a couple people, like his boss, knew and was keeping it under wraps to help him, but the only person who knows is some guy in a lab who's making his coma medicine for him.
And review the crime drama Broken City.
It was all for the city?
Everything I do is for this great city. I chose you because I own you.
And I'm thinking there's a lot of police brutality in the news these days, and that this is sort of an issue that they're going to tackle in the film. But they don't. They just sort of gloss right over it.
All right here on Just Seen It. Whether it's the end of the world as we know it,
Maybe I'll run into you at a support group or an orgy or something.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
making friends with a robot.
What do you mean, what about you?
If you die eating cheeseburgers, what do you think happens to me?
Or seeking a partner for time travel.
What time would you go back to? You wouldn't want to see the dragons and the elves fight each other in the magical forest?
That wasn't a time.
Check out the movies we call Our Hidden Gems of 2012.
Hi, I'm Brenna.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Liz. Now that 2012 is over, let's look back on some hidden gems you might have missed. Aaron, what do you recommend?
I want to recommend Robot and Frank.
Brenna?
I recommend Seeking a Friend for the End of the World.
And my pick is Safety Not Guaranteed.
So now that the Mayans are wrong and the world didn't end, let's talk about a film where it did. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World is about the last few weeks on Earth before a giant meteor named Matilda will come and destroy all life. And the story focuses on Dodge, who's played by Steve Carell, as he's trying to figure out what to do with his last 3 weeks and what he did with his whole life. And he decides he's gonna go find the one that got away. He teams up with his downstairs neighbor, Penny, who's played by Keira Knightley. They go on a fun road trip with their impending doom looming over them as they try and figure out what to do.
I never saw myself as an old man.
Really? I thought I was going to live forever. I was totally going to peak at 40.
Well, I hear 30 is the new 40.
So it was directed and written by Lorene Scafaria, and she wrote Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Which I love.
Yeah.
I love Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
It's great, and this is her first time directing, and she does a really great job with that. Keira Knightley, Steve Carell, that's kind of awkward, but they have amazing chemistry, and they're one of the best romantic relationships I've seen all year.
What are you doing with the rest of your life?
Little of this, little of that. Probably catching up on some me time, find God, maybe move around some chairs.
Keira Knightley plays sort of a manic pixie dream girl in this, and I usually hate manic pixie dream girls. They're these constructs of these writers who make this perfect woman who's there to break the guy out of his bubble and get him to enjoy life. But she's not like that in this film. In this film, they both exist for each other. So she helps him, but he helps her just as much.
And she really likes vinyl records.
Oh yeah, she really likes vinyl. Of course she does. She's a manic pixie dream girl. Another reason why I love this movie so much is seeing how different regular folks would deal with their impending doom. But my personal favorite is while they're on the road trip, they pass this house where this woman's having a yard sale. a week before the world ends. And there's another woman there buying stuff. Like little things like that just completely cement it. And a great script and great directing and amazing performances from Keira Knightley and Steve Carell make this one of my favorites. It's out on DVD now, so feel free to rent it or even buy it.
I'm going to talk about Robot and Frank. This film stars Frank Langella as Frank, an aging jewel thief, and he's starting to face some health issues. So Frank's son purchases him a robot. He's against the idea of a robot helping him at first, but he eventually becomes more accustomed to living with it and kind of forms a bond with the robot, especially when it helps him kind of restart his career as a jewel thief. This is the first film from director Jake Schreier and writer Christopher D. Ford, who won a Sundance Award for the film. What I really enjoy about Robot and Frank is the lead performance by Frank Langella. I think he's absolutely terrific in this movie. And the way he develops this bond with the robot, who's voiced by Peter Sarsgaard, it's kind of touching.
Well, why don't you pretend that Mr. Darcy is a human being like me and start up a conversation?
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm functioning normally.
As am I.
Yeah, well, the film is no longer in theaters, but it will be on Blu-ray and DVD in February, early February 2013.
So I picked Safety Not Guaranteed, and it stars Aubrey Plaza, Jake Johnson, and Mark Duplass. The main story kicks off when Aubrey Plaza's character gets dragged along on a work trip where they have to interview the writer of the classified ad that is looking for a time travel partner.
There are people after me. How do I know you don't work for them?
Because I've never worked for anybody in my life.
You ever face certain death?
If it was so certain, I wouldn't be here, would I?
What's really exciting about this film is that because it's about time travel, everyone gets to talk about their major regrets in life and where they would go and what they would do. And I think that's great for learning, a lot about every character.
He's over there right now thinking he's building a friggin' time machine. I don't know. What are the chances he can do that with these lasers?
How would I know?
He doesn't know. He's not a freaking stormtrooper either.
Stormtroopers don't know anything about lasers or time travel. They're blue-collar workers.
One of my favorite performances is this actor named Karan Soni, and he plays Arnaud. And Arnaud is the other intern who works with Aubrey Plaza. I very rarely see someone so natural on screen as this actor.
Yeah, he brings a nice kind of balance to the trio of characters here, and he's even kind of more socially awkward than Aubrey Plaza's character.
Right, and that it just supports this idea, this theme of these awkward marginal characters connecting with each other. The film won an award at Sundance for Derek Connolly's script, and it currently rates at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. But I don't know many people have seen it, and I think that's unfortunate because it's quite sweet, and the ending of the film is the best part.
I think Jake Johnson's rising success will probably make more people check it out.
It's a film that certainly left me wanting more. I wanted more from it because I really enjoyed it.
Seeking a Friend for the End of the World is just really sweet and a lot of fun. But watch out because it'll probably get you in the end, and I recommend that everybody see it.
Robot and Frank is a small film with a big heart and a terrific lead performance for Frank Langella. It deserves more attention. I say see it.
Safety Not Guaranteed is a film where the actions of the main characters are really thought out, and that's incredibly unusual. With that and the fact that it's very genuine, see it.
Well, here's to the hidden gems of 2012. Can't wait for 2013's.
Robots.
Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Brenna. And we're here to talk about two new shows. We have CBS's Golden Boy and NBC's Do No Harm. Let's start with Golden Boy.
Detective Clark, day one, how does it feel?
It's my dream to be in homicide. So I know you come in here real green, but if you keep your ears open, I'll give you a fair shake. This job is filled with tough calls. I can handle it.
So Golden Boy revolves around Walter William Clark Jr., who's a detective in the NYPD who has a meteoric rise over the course of 7 years, which we see through flashbacks, to become the youngest police commissioner ever.
That's right, and as you pointed out, our playground is New York City. It's a single-camera show. It's an hour episodic police procedural. That's right, another one on CBS.
The premise is solid. It's a basic cop show. It's kind of hard to mess up that premise. But the writing is a bit weak, and at times it can even be a bit cliched.
The writing was bothersome. The thing that I don't think the cast really gelled in the first couple episodes, and even worse than that is that somebody's got to teach them how to, let's just have an accent and stick with that, right? Okay? Because nobody really knows what accent they're using. The only person that really got the accents down was Shy McBride.
Yeah.
And actually Bonnie Somerville was the only other one that had a believable accent in this show.
Yeah, Theo James, who I believe is British, it sometimes sounds like he's doing a typical American accent and then a New York American accent. We've seen this before, this young cop rises in the ranks, people are jealous of him. I mean, it's been all throughout literature, and you could read a James Ellroy novel, you could watch LA Confidential. Maybe you could watch Cop Rock. I don't know if this was in Cop Rock, but we've seen it before. At least I felt like I had seen it before.
For what this was, though, I thought it gave it a good effort.
The writing is extremely cliched and painfully expositional. Like every conversation was explaining something that they feel the audience should know.
You've only been on the job 3 years. You'd be the least experienced by a decade. Kid, you haven't made your bones.
Speaking plain, I made my bones from the age of 9. Stealing food from me and my sister and then working 2 jobs to get through John Jay.
The only thing they do to put a spin on an old formula is they put this flashback structure in there, but it doesn't help the show, really. I mean, it's, I guess, supposed to bring intrigue and suspense, but it doesn't. I mean, he's got a limp 7 years later, so we're supposed to be like, ooh, we're going to be glued to the television over the course of however many seasons because we really want to know how this guy, got a limp. I don't care. I just don't care. And really, that's the only thing they do to try and make it different.
I did like the flashback element, though, because you see how he meets his kind of mentor, played by Shia McBride, who's fantastic in the show.
Oh, yeah.
He might be the best thing about it. And they're really not connecting at all. And I don't know if that's not just the cast not gelling. That's actually supposed to be in the story. And 7 years later, they're going to be really good buddies. And maybe we don't know what that relationship has, but it seems like maybe something happened to Shia McBride's character. So I want to see how that relationship progresses. So in that element, I did like the flashback.
Shia McBride was really good. I felt they kind of didn't use him enough. I mean, he was pretty much the mentor. That's all he was. He existed as, I believe you said he is an Obi-Wan Kenobi type, and that's all he is.
Even though he's doing a cliched mentor role, he makes it interesting, and that's impressive. And if there's anything keeping the show's head above water, he's the guy.
Sorry, been like this all month.
Now what are you gonna do? Oh, my Morgan Freeman? Open your own damn door.
So our showrunner is Nicholas Wooten, who has got a lot of experience doing these kind of TV shows. He's done Chuck and Law and Order and NYPD Blue, and he seems more than capable. It's pretty much standard cop procedural fare, but there's some sweeping shots around like the interrogation table. There's a shot of on a guy's chest as he's standing up, which was a little interesting.
It's good for the typical CBS audience, which is above 70, so maybe we can do some stuff to appeal to the younger kids.
Golden Boy has a lot of problems, but it made one great decision. They cast Shia McBride. Maybe they can give him a lot more to do. For right now, stream it.
I totally understand police drama fatigue at this point, especially from a network, but in Nicholas Wooten, I trust, and I like the flashback element, so I'm going to give this a stream it.
With all of the good cop shows on TV, we don't really need another one, and this one isn't really worth a look. Skip it.
All right, well, it looks like our votes add up to 1 ticket, which is a stream it for CBS's Golden Boy.
All right, let's talk about Do No Harm now.
My name is Dr. Jason Cole. At least it is right now. But every night, at the same time, he becomes me, Ian Price. We share the same body, but we are not the same.
Do No Harm is a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde story that takes place in Philadelphia.
It's a serialized 1-hour drama premiering on NBC.
That's right, and it's from showrunner David Schulner, who also was the writer on The Event and Trauma, so he knows his way around weird medical experiences.
You have a doctor who, at the beginning of the show, is sleeping for 12 hours at night, between the hours of 8:25 p.m. and 8:25 a.m.
Self-induced coma sleeping.
Self-induced coma, because he turns into Ian Price, who's a sadistic, crazy dude.
Here you go, Cole. Be careful. Monkeys have been known to eat their young.
I have a lot of questions. How did he become a doctor? How is it that the hospital staff is perfectly fine with him just basically disappearing for 12 hours at night without ever being on call?
He has diabetes.
He has diabetes, but I guess he never had residency. He didn't do anything like that.
Well, yeah, no doctor has ever been able to sleep for 12 hours straight.
And become a doctor.
He's painted as this all-star, like this brilliant surgeon, so maybe they give him a pass.
I can understand maybe if a couple people, like his boss, knew and was keeping it under wraps to help him, but the only person who knows is some guy in a lab who's making his coma medicine for him.
He does have a crazy double life, and it is very absurd, but it's fun to watch, too. It's not just like a boring medical show on a network. You get all this cool other stuff that, at times, it can feel just like you're watching like another sequel to The Hangover, because you have to wake up and figure out what he did last night.
Well, that's what it should be. It could be that. I think the show right now, at least in the first 2 episodes, is taking itself far too seriously, and it's trying to be too many things at once. You really have this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, but you also have medical procedures going on with each episode, almost like it wants to be another House, We have not only the split personality, but he's going in and doing surgery on a guy who can't recognize people's faces. And then in episode 2, a girl who has a worm in her brain. And I'm just going, I don't care. Get to the stuff that could be fun.
You don't care about a girl with a worm in her brain?
I would care about it if it wasn't interfering with the best part of the show.
You're messing with Ian Price. You're messing up with a hot chick.
This guy, Ian Price, which could be really, really funny if they go with it.
And he's been suppressing Ian for 5 years, which means that he's been taking coma medication every night for 5 years, and there's so many risks to putting yourself comatose.
And you're kind of wondering what's going to happen if this thing ever does get out. Is he going to Hulk out again? And from the pilot episode, you're like, oh, he's just going to become a crazy sex addict. That doesn't sound all that bad, but what I liked is that they started there, and then he ended up doing these other things. And what I liked watching was seeing the Hyde part kind of mess with the Jekyll part, then the Jekyll part has to answer by doing something to screw up Hyde's life. So they're kind of, it's like two guys that really don't like each other, having a rivalry.
In his performance as playing two different characters, he does a good job of not delivering these lines in a cliche manner. So while the dialogue itself is cliche, the way he delivers it works, and his performance is actually top-notch. So despite some issues with believability, it's just fun to watch these two halves of the same guy try to destroy each other. So I say stream it.
I'm a fan. I'm in. I loved watching the medical stuff and even more the Jekyll and Hyde personalities. I think there's going to be a lot of layers to not only the Dr. Jekyll, but the Mr. Hyde part of this show. I say see it.
Well, Do No Harm is pretty absurd, but if it embraced that aspect, it could be a really fun show. Right now it's taking itself too seriously, so I have to say stream it.
Our votes add up to 2 full tickets, which is a stream it for Do No Harm.
All right.
Cheers.
Let's hurry up. In 5 minutes, I turn to a different person. I gotta get home and do a self-induced coma.
I'm warning you.
Our DVD pick of the week is the highly anticipated 3rd season of the British show Downton Abbey, out January 29th on Blu-ray and DVD.
When does Grandmama arrive? I'm so looking forward to seeing your mother again. When I'm with her, I'm reminded of the virtues of the English.
But isn't she American?
Exactly.
Anglophiles alike will jump for joy when they unwrap the continuing love story of Mary and Matthew, the saga of the Crowley family, and the tragic circumstances of my favorite couple, Anna and Mr. Bates. Also out this week for DVD and streaming are Won't Back Down and The Possession, and we gave both of these films a stream it. So come on over to my place on the 29th and we'll stream The Possession and Won't Back Down, and we'll gobble up every second of Downton Abbey Season 3. Thanks for watching.
Officer Billy Taggart is disgraced after a high-profile shooting.
Mr. Mayor.
You, in my eyes, hero.
Thank you.
When the mayor hires Billy to investigate his wife's infidelities, he sees a chance for redemption.
I take pictures, Mrs. Hostella. I don't get paid to think.
But as he uncovers the mayor's true intentions, his own life is threatened in Broken City.
Hello, I'm Liz.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Brenna. And we're here to talk about Broken City, the new film starring Mark Wahlberg, Russell Crowe, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. We've all just seen it. Who wants to start us off?
I'll break into it first. If you're gonna name a film Broken City and ask about something that's broken, what is the metaphor? And I couldn't figure out what was broken. We're set at New York City, but it's not the city that's broken. It's about ethics and politics.
Russell Crowe says the city is broken.
But I don't think that's what matters.
No.
And it's really hard to figure out.
I mean, if we're talking about meaning, like, I think then it's the justice system that's broken, but that for me doesn't save the movie.
Well, it's just, if you can't really figure out what's broken and nor do you care, I think that's a major flaw with a film.
You have this big allegory of things that are broken. You kind of think, oh, okay, well, they're gonna come in and clean it up and fix everything.
No.
Nothing gets fixed.
No.
You pretty much end where you started.
I don't hate this film. I just don't feel like it offers you anything that we haven't seen before. For instance, it's got this very sort of old nostalgic feel to it. Mark Wahlberg, who's quoted as saying that it has like the feel of a Bogart film, and that's why he liked it. But there's no twist, there's nothing that they do that's new about the film.
This film sort of has like a mystery scandal type thing, and the problem with it is that it's not very mysterious and it's not very scandalous.
No, and it's not
care.
exciting.
Yeah.
So Mark Wahlberg plays a policeman, and he kills someone in the first few minutes of this film. And I'm thinking there's a lot of police brutality in the news these days, and that this is sort of an issue that they're going to tackle in the film. But they don't. They just sort of gloss right over it. And just from that point on in, I am not really on the side of our protagonist.
We're supposed to be on Mark Wahlberg's side with this killing because we find out that the guy he killed was a rapist murderer who was acquitted on a technicality. But it doesn't quite work because he still killed somebody. He took the justice system into his own hands.
When you have three women reviewing a movie that might be more skewed for male and you have a female who says, this is confusing, that is not to be misread as females going, oh my God, it's confusing, we don't understand.
My estrogen.
We see the film, we understand what's going on, but from a screenwriting perspective, the plot could have been sharpened up a little bit. Things could have been made a little bit clearer.
The work you're doing for the mayor, I'll give you $50,000 to give it up.
Well, that's very generous, but I got a contract with the mayor.
Break it.
You don't break contract with the mayor.
The writer is Brian Tucker, and this is actually his first screenplay. And while some of the dialogue is good, there's a lot of things that are just really out of place.
It feels very dated, and I think not necessarily just dated by a few years. I mean, it tries to have this noir dialogue, and it you know, like this hardboiled dialogue that usually the audience will love. Russell Crowe, or Hostetler, compares his hunting dog to his wife.
He starts off saying that, oh, women say men are dogs, but, you know, dogs are good, you know, they're loyal.
Except for female dogs.
Female dogs.
Female dogs.
That's a problem.
So all this, it was all for the city?
Everything I do is for this great city. I chose you because I own you.
Our lead is Mark Wahlberg, who's playing the tough guy cop, and it's his usual stuff. He plays Billy Taggart, and he's good at it because it's what he does.
I don't care about this guy. He's got no cracks. He's not very vulnerable. He's just cool.
His vulnerabilities as a character aren't really expounded upon in the film. I mean, he's an alcoholic, or he gives up alcohol at one point, but that's not really explored. He has this hidden past and what happened with the shooting of this young man in the beginning of the film. We don't really know what happens there, but all these juicy character moments aren't really capitalized on.
Yeah, and that's more the script than the acting.
Again, yeah, exactly. I think these actors are great. I think the script is the problem. One of my favorite performances of the film was Alona Tall. She plays Katie, the girl Friday of the film. She works at the PI firm with Mark Wahlberg's character, and they have this great chemistry, this great back and forth between them.
Catherine Zeta-Jones is always very strong. I thought she did fine. I thought her character, like some of the lines she had to deliver and some of the circumstances of her character were a little bit far-fetched.
We have to talk about Russell Crowe, who plays our Mayor Hostetler. He starts off being sort of a victim, and then we find out that he's kind of a bad guy, and he can be really dark and kind of scary at times.
I loved Russell Crowe in this film. I thought he was a strong presence in every scene that he was in.
I did think he was probably the most layered of the different characters. He had like sort of a change that you got to see him at his good side, and you got to see his bad side.
Keep your grubby little paws off him.
Poor Nicky. You never did learn how to share, did you? Well, don't worry. I'll teach you before it's too late.
I feel like you took a script that maybe wasn't that great, and you put everything else that you put on top of it here is solid.
Yes.
So you get a solid, though not riveting film.
Broken City is a film that by the end of it, you won't really care what is broken and why, and for that I give it a skip it.
This is not an inventive movie, but I think it will appeal to slightly older men. So for them, I give it a stream it.
Well, this isn't a bad film. It has a mediocre mystery and a sort of unfulfilling finale. For that, I say stream it.
Well, it looks like our votes add up to one full ticket, which is a stream it for Broken City.
2 men. Yeah, manly men. Doing manly things in manly ways.
I'm looking to put a squad together.
I'm listening.
A small squad. 5, maybe 6 guys.
Going up against 40? Well, you gotta die of something.
Hi, I'm Salim.
Hello, I'm Liz.
And I'm Sean. We got a chance to see Gangster Squad, but unfortunately our press screening was so late we can't do a full review on the movie, but we're gonna give you some quick thoughts on it. Liz, what'd you think?
I love noir films, I love gangster films, but Gangster Squad wasn't really committed to either one of these genres. It didn't really know what it wanted to be. And in that same vein, these generic themes and topics like honor and duty are bandied about in the script and the story, but to no real consequence, and I think that's a shame. And on that same point, we have some amazing supporting actors in this film like Michael Pena and Anthony Mackie, but the characters that they play are just thin and unsubstantial.
You know, I was actually really looking forward to this movie, but surprisingly, it's one of the funniest gangster movies I've ever seen, and obviously that should not be the tone for a gangster movie. And now some of this comedy was intentional with written jokes, and unintentional because of the cartoonish gun violence. We have guys with Tommy guns shooting and not hitting anybody.
Yeah, director Ruben Fleischer made Zombieland, 30 Minutes or Less, so he's used to these comedic pictures, and I don't think he handles tone well here. This should be a serious picture. There's an interesting story with Mickey Cohen, but unfortunately it's just a lot of slow motion Tommy gun fights.
On the bright side, the acting was great. Sean Penn was awesome, Ryan Gosling was even better.
Yeah, it's a talented cast, they all do a good job, but you've got Josh Brolin and Ryan Gosling and a lot of other people that should do a good job.
Gangster Squad has all the makings to be an entertaining, impactful film, but in the end, it doesn't really seem to be about anything. I say stream it for the Burbank jokes.
For Sean Penn's performance, I say watch this at home with a squad of friends. Stream it.
It's passable fare for the month of January. Emma Stone's pretty sexy, so it's okay to watch from the comfort of your own home. Stream it.
Well, it looks like our votes add up to 1.5 tickets, which is a stream it for Gangster Squad.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wasn't Tommy Gunn a Rocky character?
On the next episode of Just Seen It, we offer up our top entertainment picks from 2012. And we look at 2 foreign films, Taboo, the black and white drama from Portugal, and the French language Amour, which has been nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture in 2012. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.